In ancient Rome, around 55 AD, there was a law. If you broke a slave's body, you paid his owner money. But if you broke a slave's spirit, you paid nothing. This is why most slaves lived in terror. But there was one slave who refused to be broken. His name was Epictetus. His name means acquired one. He was property, a thing, an object to be bought and sold. But while his body belonged to his master, his mind belonged to no one. Epictetus was born into slavery. He never knew freedom. He grew up in the household of Epaphroditus, a wealthy and cruel man who served as secretary to Emperor Nero. Epaphroditus was the kind of man who smiled while inflicting pain. He enjoyed testing the limits of his slaves. He wanted to see when they would break. Epictetus worked in silence. He cleaned floors. He fetched wine. He stood in corners for hours, invisible, waiting for orders. But while his hands worked, his mind studied. Epictetus had gained permission to attend the lectures of Musonius Rufus, a Stoic philosopher. Every spare moment, Epictetus absorbed these teachings like a starving man eating bread. The philosophy was simple but radical. You do not control what happens to you. You only control how you respond. Other slaves whispered that Epictetus was wasting his time. Philosophy won't free you, they said. Philosophy won't stop the beatings. Epictetus would nod and say, freedom is not about what happens to your body. Freedom is about what happens to your mind. One evening, Epaphroditus was in a foul mood. Emperor Nero had insulted him at court. Epaphroditus needed to hurt someone to feel powerful again. He called for Epictetus. "Come here," he ordered. Epictetus approached, calm as still water. Epaphroditus grabbed Epictetus by the arm and began twisting his leg. Slowly, deliberately, the room fell silent. Other slaves looked away. They knew what was coming. The bone began to strain under the pressure. Epictetus felt the ligament stretching. The pain shot through his body like fire. But his face remained peaceful. "Master," Epictetus said quietly, "if you keep twisting, my leg will break." Epaphroditus twisted harder. His eyes gleamed. He wanted to see fear. He wanted to see begging. Epictetus spoke again, his voice steady. "Master, I am telling you, the leg will break." Crack! The bone snapped. The sound echoed through the marble hall. Epaphroditus released his grip, breathing hard. He expected screaming. He expected tears. Instead, Epictetus looked down at his shattered leg, then looked up at his master and said, "See? I told you it would break." No anger, no blame, no emotion, just a statement of fact. What Epaphroditus did not understand was that Epictetus had already won the battle. Not the physical battle, the mental one. Epictetus had practiced a technique the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Before bad things happened, he visualized them. He prepared his mind. He had already imagined this moment 1,000 times. He had already asked himself, if my master breaks my leg, will it change who I am? Will it change what I think? Will it change my mind? The answer was no. Pain was a signal, a sensation. It was real, but it was not the master of his mind. Epictetus understood something revolutionary. Your body is on loan. Your mind is yours forever. Guard the second, accept what happens to the first. Epaphroditus stared at his slave in confusion. He had broken the man's leg, but somehow he had lost. Years later, Epaphroditus freed Epictetus, not out of kindness, out of discomfort. It is hard to own someone who refuses to act like they are owned. Epictetus left Rome. He walked with a permanent limp from his broken leg, using a crutch for the rest of his life. But his mind was stronger than ever. He opened a school of philosophy in Nicopolis, a small city in Greece. He had no money, no building, no reputation. He taught in the open air. He taught anyone who would listen. Slaves, soldiers, merchants, he asked for no payment. Word spread. Students traveled for weeks to hear him speak. His teachings were simple, direct, and brutally honest. He did not speak like a scholar. He spoke like a man who had lived through darkness and come out the other side. One of his students was a young man named Arrian, who wrote down everything Epictetus said. These notes became the Discourses and the Enchiridion, two of the most influential books in Western philosophy. Epictetus never wrote a single word himself. He remained humble. He lived in a small hut with almost no possessions. When thieves broke in and stole his oil lamp, he shrugged and said, "Tomorrow I will buy a cheaper one." But his words reached the most powerful man in the world. Emperor Marcus Aurelius, ruler of Rome, kept a copy of Epictetus's teachings next to his bed. While governing an empire of 60 million people fighting wars on distant borders, Marcus wrote in his journal, "Remember Epictetus. He was a slave. He had one leg, but he was free in the only way that mattered." Epictetus had taught the emperor of Rome how to think. The slave had become the master. Epictetus left us with one core message. We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. People will hurt you. Life will break your bones. Bosses will twist your arm. The economy will crash. People you trust will betray you. You have two choices. You let these events own you. You let them control your emotions, your decisions, your identity. Or you do what Epictetus did. You recognize the difference between what you control and what you do not. You do not control the leg, but you control the mind. You do not control the insult, but you control the response. You do not control the loss, but you control what you do next. Epictetus walked with a crutch for the rest of his life. Every step was a reminder of what his master had done to him, but he never spoke of Epaphroditus with bitterness. When students asked about the broken leg, Epictetus would smile and say, "My master thought he could break me, but he only broke the bone, and bones are temporary. Philosophy is forever." In the end, Epaphroditus is forgotten. His wealth turned to dust. His power evaporated. But Epictetus, his words are read by millions. His wisdom shapes presidents, generals, and entrepreneurs. His name is spoken with reverence 2,000 years later. The slave became immortal. Remember, you do not need permission to be free. You only need the courage to choose your thoughts. Your circumstances are temporary. Your mind is eternal. Guard it well. If this story brought a moment of calm to your day, please like this video and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories that feed the soul. Thank you for staying with us. Until the next story, stay well and stay peaceful.